Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and the ending of the Thunderbolts actually has much deeper, darker implications for the Marvel Cinematic Universe than just teasing the next phase of the Multiverse saga. Remember, the darker half of the century, the Void, engulfed the entirety of New York City and every single one of its residents in a shadow realm of shame, forcing people to come face to face with their most haunting moments again and again in what we are calling shame rooms. Now, we think the engulfing shadow of the Void is going to have huge implications for Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Spider-Man Brand New Day, and of course, Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. And we think that the Void's shadow realm has a direct connection to the multiverse and may even be the key to Robert Downey Jr. returning as Dr. Doom. So we're going to explain what other New York-based heroes like Daredevil, Spider-Man, and all the Defenders saw in their shame rooms, and how what they saw in those rooms will directly impact the decisions they make into Phase 6 of the MCU. And there's also a recent quote from Jessica Jones' The Purple Man, David Tennant, who played the villainous Kilgrave. In this quote, Tennant lamented the fact that he'll likely never get his dream role of Reed Richards' Mr. Fantastic. But we think the actions of the Void could actually lead to the return of the Purple Man as an ally of Wilson Fisk and then graduating to Team Dr. Doom.
Yeah, but didn't that guy die?
Yes, but shows like WandaVision and Loki and films like No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness have laid the groundwork for the Void's New York takeover to resurrect not only Kilgrave, but maybe have even opened up the door for the resurrection of Tony Stark, aka Dr. Doom. The Void's attack may even be responsible for the space crisis we heard mentioned in the post-credits scene of the Thunderbolts. So let's break it all down. Okay, let's start with what Matt Murdock likely saw in his shame room. In Daredevil Born Again, we see Matt's world completely shattered. Right off the bat, he loses his best friend, and then his greatest foe becomes the duly elected mayor of New York. Now, prior to even Born Again, Matt Murdock has had a very traumatic life. Matt's trauma, like many heroes, is directly responsible for sending him down the superhero path in life. There's Matt's accident as a child where he was blinded by chemicals, later resulting in his heightened senses. There's the murder of Matt's father by mobsters. Matt was abandoned by his mentor, Stick, and there's the death of the woman he loved, Elektra. These are all moments that come to mind for what Matt may have seen in the Void. But we have to remember that these rooms directly target shame and guilt. And the moment Matt feels the most guilt about is the death of Foggy Nelson. This opening sequence from Born Again, where Foggy is shot and Matt fights Poindexter to the slow beating of Foggy's heart, that would be the moment that Matt would relive again and again. Matt blames himself for not being able to save his friend and for crossing that murderous line by throwing Poindexter off that roof. And I think that reliving this moment over and over will only amplify the already rage-filled Daredevil that we saw in those final moments of Born Again. A Daredevil who has recently reached his own breaking point and who is seemingly out for blood to avenge his late friend and to save the city from Kingpin's grasp one last time. Now,
Hey, I have a delivery here for a Doug the manager. That's me.
Doug, what is this?
I got it from my dad for Father's Day. Let's open it.
Okay. Alright, this is so cool. This is from Syndicate, the sponsor of this video, right? Syndicate is a unique and unforgettable cake experience, and it is the perfect gift for Father's Day. This one is called the For Him box. The cake is delicious, and it even has a little cookie on the top. And now, let's open this one. Okay, now this one actually comes with 10 cake donuts that spin around until you decide to eat them. Now, what I love about Syndicate is that I live far from home, and I know I could just send somebody a card, but I want to give something a little extra and special. And these gifts aren't just for Father's Day, by the way. They offer a range of products, perfect for any event. Birthdays, anniversaries, retirement parties, life day, you name it. Syndicate is both thoughtful and hassle-free, but most importantly, it is fun and delicious. So, to send your present today, use our link in the description and use the code SCREEN10 to get 10% off your Syndicate order. It is a really fun gift. Now, back to what I was saying. So anyways, at the end of Daredevil Born Again, we saw Daredevil accompanied by Karen and other supporting characters in Josie's bar, teasing a rebellion of sorts against the Kingpin. Now notably, Daredevil was the only superhero in that room, leading some to ask,
Yeah, where the heck is Spider-Man? Where's Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist?
Oh, but get this, Doug, Kristen Ritter's Jessica Jones will be returning for Season 2 of Born Again. We have set images that feature her in her blue jeans back in action. And we also think that the Void's attack on New York will be the catalyst for reassembling the Defenders, and what Jessica Jones saw in her shame room will be what inspires her to team back up with her old friend Matt.
For whatever it's worth, I'm glad you're here.
What?
Jessica Jones has a very traumatic past, from the death of her family, which ultimately led to her getting powers, to the torment she was put through by Kilgrave.
Why don't you listen to me? Because I don't want to. If you can't listen to me, you don't need ears. Cut them off.
I think Jessica's abusive relationship with Kilgrave is going to reignite a fight within Jessica to stand up against controlling, power-hungry men like Wilson Fisk. Now, as for the other Defender shame rooms, Luke Cage likely relived the death of his wife, who was killed by Jessica Jones while she was under the influence of Kilgrave. And Danny Rand's Iron Fist would likely relive the plane crash that killed his parents, another tragic origin story that led to our hero getting his powers. Now, with Jones and Cage both having shame rooms that likely feature Kilgrave, they may have even actually shared a shame room, assuming Jessica's guilt stems from killing Cage's wife. And we think it's possible that this recreation of Kilgrave within the Void could be how he returns. It has been well established in the Multiverse saga that dreams are glimpses into the multiverse of your variant selves.
Dreams are windows into the lives of our multiversal selves.
In Jessica Jones Season 2, she has these haunting visions of Kilgrave, very similar to that of the shame rooms in the Void.
Now all you have to do, Jessica, this is all on you.
So with this established rule of dreams being glimpses into the multiverse, it's possible that these traumatic visions Jessica had of Kilgrave are also glimpses into the multiverse, meaning that her trauma could be connecting her mind to Kilgrave across time and space. And while that might sound a little far-fetched, again, these are the established rules in the MCU. It is well established that anyone's mind can access glimpses of the multiverse via their dreams. It's also been well established in the comics that entire pocket dimensions can be created in the confines of one's mind, such as when Doctor Strange created Sentry World within the Sentry's mind and trapped the essence of the Void in that dimension. So, if dreams are glimpses into the multiverse, then that means that one's subconscious has a direct connection to the multiverse. And what is the Void's realm if not a direct connection to the subconscious guilt of its occupants? This pocket dimension / shadow realm created by the Void is physically transferring people to another realm. We think the Void shadow realm is physically accessing the vastness of the multiverse via their already established connection between a person's mind and the doorway their subconscious has to the multiverse via dreams. Meaning that the Void shadow realm is a real, physical connection of traumatic moments pulled from time and space to be relived like a dream, or more accurately, like a nightmare. Nightmares, by the way, have an entire department at the TVA.
This place is a nightmare.
That's another department.
This once again establishes this connection between the multiverse, dreams, and the subconscious mind. And this all ties into the many worlds interpretation, which is an actual scientific theory, and was even explored in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Colton, remind us how that theory works. And guys, remember, Colton is eternally trapped in a shame room of his own that is the ScreenCrush TV, and he doesn't know it, so please don't tell him. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, the many worlds interpretation is a theory in quantum mechanics that suggests that every quantum measurement causes the universe to split into multiple parallel universes, each representing a different possible outcome, thus creating a multiverse. We saw this displayed in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania in the quantum realm when Scott was close to Kang's multiversal engine core.
It's a probability storm. Every choice you could make existing all at once.
This means that the very choices one makes or could possibly make in their conscious or subconscious mind are directly responsible for the creation of entire realities. Essentially, any possibility that could happen will happen, and that is why we see splintering timelines in shows like Loki, because those represent when someone makes a choice different from another. And this all means that the direct connection that the MCU has established between the mind and the multiverse could mean that these shame rooms, which feature guilt stemming from choices we have made or that were made for us, are real, actual physical places in the multiverse. And it makes Thunderbolts, or the New Avengers, one of the most multiversal movies of this saga, driving home that overall theme of choice. I've talked before about how Robert Downey Jr. being cast as Dr. Doom is brilliant because it shows us in the Multiverse saga, a saga that I say the entire theme is about choice, it shows us how in the vastness of the multiverse, you can have the same character, this guy that we know as Tony Stark, go a completely different path and become the polar opposite of a hero and being a supervillain.
And all of that could mean that when Kilgrave appears in Jessica Jones and possibly even Luke Cage's shame room, an actual multiversal variant of the character was physically present in the shadow dimension. And it's possible that before the Void was defeated, Kilgrave was able to use his mind control powers to manipulate and escape the Void. Now, if we're to understand that the shadow realm of the Void is a physical construction of millions of people's subconsciouses, then who better to navigate this realm than a guy whose power is literal mind control?
Cross the street, face that fence and stay there forever.
And who better to assist a power-hungry politician like the Kingpin, or an even more power-hungry guy like Dr. Doom in future MCU projects? So, just like the blip has been used and shown from various perspectives in post-Endgame projects, we think the same will be true for the Void's attack on New York. We could see this whole sequence from the Thunderbolts happen again and again, from the perspective of Spider-Man, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and the other Defenders. And we could see the very moment a character like Kilgrave was able to return. And this is exactly the kind of interconnected storytelling that the MCU should be taking advantage of and using if they're going to be an actual shared cinematic universe. Go back to the days of events happening in one movie that actually had effects on what happened in another movie, like how the Battle of New York influenced the entire plot of the Kingpin's operation in Daredevil Season 1, or like how the Battle of New York created villains like the Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming. And hey, speaking of Spider-Man, he too would have been a victim of this Void attack. So let's talk about what he likely saw when he was engulfed and how this may be the key to his old friends remembering Peter Parker. MJ, Ned, and Happy Hogan were affected by Doctor Strange's spell that caused the entire multiverse to forget Peter Parker. But in the depths of their minds, they have the traumatic moment when they had to say goodbye to Peter at the Statue of Liberty. So perhaps remembering that moment in their shame rooms could be the key to breaking this multiversal spell and remembering Peter. And guys, I have to admit, when watching the Thunderbolts as the Void began his attack, I did have the slightest little hope in the back of my mind that we might get a glimpse of Spider-Man looking into the sky, seeing the Void, and then maybe swinging around and saving some people. Now, while that didn't happen, I don't think the door is closed on us seeing Spider-Man's perspective of the Void's attack, maybe even as the opening sequence of Brand New Day. We know that Peter has returned to his web-slinging roots of being a close-to-the-ground, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, so it's pretty difficult to imagine any scenario where Spider-Man wouldn't have swung into action during the attack. And we can say without a doubt that he, like everyone else in the city, had a shame room. So what does that room look like for Peter? Well, let's do the most obvious one first, which is the death of his Aunt May. This is a moment that Peter probably feels Steele's immense guilt about.
She's gone. It's all my fault.
Peter having to relive this experience would be heartbreaking, but it would also serve as a brilliant way to start Brand New Day. Seeing Peter getting that with great power comes great responsibility speech over and over.
You have power, and with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
Brand New Day is exactly what it sounds like, a fresh start for Spider-Man. So beginning the film with a reminder of that famous quote that makes Spider-Man who he is, you know, the moment that defines his entire superhero career, that would be great. And instead of doing it as a flashback, he would relive it in the Void. This huge attack on New York and Spidey's inability to stop it would also be the moment that inspires Peter to consider working with others again so that he can better protect the city. Maybe that means taking a swing over to Avengers Tower and offering to help out the new Avengers. Or maybe it can inspire him to join another team while still remaining close to the ground. The street level team of the Defenders that we're going to see reformed in Born Again Season 2. Like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and the others, Peter too would be inspired to stand up and fight as a result of what he saw in the Void. And maybe, just maybe, we could actually see Spider-Man have a role in Born Again and fight alongside Daredevil. And then we could see that story lead into Brand New Day. Born Again Season 2 releases in March 2026, and Brand New Day releases just a few months later in July. And some have speculated that with the recent moving of Avengers Doomsday to December of 2026, this could open up the door for Brand New Day to be that street-level Spider-Man movie that so many fans like us have been wanting. Now, another option for what Peter sees in his shame room could be the moment that we've never seen before in the MCU, but that we know is part of Spider-Man's history, the death of Uncle Ben.
Too soon?
No, it's topical.
It was vaguely referenced here in Civil War.
When you can do the things that I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you.
And then again in Far From Home, we saw Peter using his late uncle's suitcase. And then in No Way Home, Andrew Spider-Man directly references Uncle Ben to Tom Spider-Man.
Uncle Ben said it. The day he died.
So imagine if Brand New Day opens with the Void attacking New York, and we get to see for the first time the MCU's Uncle Ben, his death, and how it impacted Peter and him becoming Spider-Man.
Also, by the way, Tom Hanks would be a great Uncle Ben, just saying.
Oh yeah, he'd be really good, but I think they should go with Jason Alexander and let George finally get his date with Marissa Tomei.
I'm, engaged.
Ooh, that's even better. Yeah. Well, hey, I think that there is also a third option for Peter's shame room, if I could. The death of Tony Stark. And, like Kilgrave, this could be the catalyst for RDJ's return to the MCU, but as Doctor Doom. Hear me out. The Russos have stated that Tony's sacrifice in Avengers Endgame is directly connected to RDJ being the only person who could play their version of Victor Von Doom.
We give you the one person who could play Victor Von Doom.
So, if the Void Shadow Realm is an actual peek into the multiverse, then theoretically, if and when Peter Parker entered a shame room where he was met once again by his dying mentor, it opens the door for the possibility of this physical embodiment of Tony Stark escaping the Void as well. Maybe in the vastness of the multiverse, this variant that he is seeing is not even Tony Stark, but Victor Von Doom. And I mean, hey, in this moment, he is in possession of the Infinity Stones. So this could be a splintering in time and space that would allow for a variant version of our dying Tony Stark with a gnarly face scar, which plays into the whole Doctor Doom thing. We could see him cheat death and escape into the MCU and maybe even have the Infinity Stones, which would of course make him the most powerful being in the universe. And we could then see this Doom go on a multiversal quest to conquer the multiverse. And there's also the whole darker half split personality angle with the Void. So perhaps while the hero, Tony Stark, died, the darker half, Doom, is able to cheat death, perhaps in a moment where in one reality, when Tony died, that was a timeline, but in another where he actually survived the snap, that created a splinter timeline. And that could be the timeline that Peter is accessing in his shame room. And I mean, Tony Stark, he has suffered some serious PTSD following the Battle of New York, and he had this ever-lingering feeling of impending doom that eventually revealed itself as Thanos.
This is it.
Thanos has been inside my head for 6 years, since he sent an army to New York, and now he's back.
Now, just like with Bob or Sentry when he received his super enhancement, that led to the creation of a darker half split personality that was created by his darker side that he had within his own mind, thus creating the Void. So perhaps the same could be true for Tony when he was imbued with the power of all 6 Infinity Stones, again making him the most powerful person in the universe. And just like Infinity Ultron was able to access the multiverse with the power of all 6 stones and physically transcend himself beyond the confines of his own universe, perhaps the same will be true for Tony, especially since his superpower is being the genius that created time travel and essentially granted himself access to the multiverse in Avengers Endgame. We could even learn that the universe that was accessed via this shame room to show Peter his dying mentor could be a parallel reality where this guy wasn't Tony Stark, but Victor Von Doom. But because the two are multiversal variants of each other, they are cosmically connected. Similar to how this guy, Ralph Bohner, was unconsciously selected by Wanda in her manipulation of reality to play her dead brother, Quicksilver. Wanda, without knowing, chose a guy who in some universes is Pietro Maximoff. So, like we teased at the top, they have been laying the groundwork for this scene since the very beginning of Phase 4.
Well guys, you heard it here first, the Void created Doctor Doom.
Ah, jeez.
But hey, those are just our thoughts on the Void and the Shame Rooms and how they connected the Multiverse Saga overall, and how it sets up future projects for Phase 6 like Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Special shout out to the writer of this video, Colton Ogburn, and let me know your thoughts and the theories down in the comments below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.